Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Luscious Ladies Lunchtime Live. It's our new time and our new day, Monday. So if we've confuffed you and confused you from last week, apologies in advance. But I promise you now, we're not switching the time again. It will be Mondays, 1 o'clock from here on in. So I'm Vicky Midwood, the Alcohol Addiction and Disordered Eating Eliminator. And my two lovely companions are to my left.
What left? Because we can't sit
Look, to my left, looking at you, is Jessica.
Hello, good afternoon. My name's Jessica, and my business Sexucation, and I talk about sex everywhere, and anywhere that anyone will let me. Basically,
we love it. And then Lucy, to my right, looking at the screen.
Yes, Lucy, aka Luby Lou the Clown. I bring fun, joy, and laughter into everybody's lives, whether you're a little kid, big kid, or even a grown-up.
And we all need a lot of laughter, although we have been laughing behind stage, haven't we, folks, about just what has been going on in the news over the weekend. Like anybody could miss it. It's been in your face. So we were like, shall we cover that topic because everybody's talking about it? And then we were like, yeah, we will, because we've got some opinions on stuff ourselves. So you came up with an amazing question, Lucy, that you were having a conversation about earlier. Do you want to share what that question is? And then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I was just wondering how many people in the world have affairs.
Isn't that a brilliant question? And I'm sure that it's a lot. But I'm going to talk about my experience with affairs, but not before we hear what Jessica has to say. Because after all, sex, couples, relationships, that's kind of really your area of expertise. So over to you, Jessica. How many people do you think in the world have affairs?
Well, do you know what? It'd be interesting to actually know, because I think most of the time they definitely get swept under the rug. We there's something definitely taboo about them. So of course we wouldn't share about them. There's huge amounts of blame that come along with affairs. Of course, you know, it's always pointing fingers. It's one person's fault. And interesting enough, though, because we talked about this a minute ago, because I'm going to do my controversial view on this, is I don't necessarily think they're a bad thing. So depending on your circumstances, I've experienced and known, and that you know, sometimes it actually can bring a relationship back together. It can actually be that thing because something's triggered an affair. In 99.9% of cases, an affair is triggered by something from stress, needing something else in a relationship you're not getting anymore, from that lack of communication. You're not chatting anymore about things that you really want and where you want to go. And actually, sometimes that can be a case of going, oh my God, yeah, we need to start having these conversations. And actually, there's that reasoning, behind it. So I'm not saying it's always a bad thing, which is strange. Obviously, you know, it depends on how you can take it. Of course, there are many situations where it is a bad thing, where you can have those ending, dreams. But the reason I say this though is because I think we're in this world of taboo where things like this are taboo. Like you have one partner, you have one relationship at a time, things like that. Now I'm in a monogamous relationship, but I don't believe in monogamy, which people always go, really?
Okay, confused head.
Because I choose to be in one. So I choose to be in like a monogamous relationship. But are we really, truly, should we be in monogamous relationships? Is that how we were meant to work? Primarily, you know, that whole idea is like, you know, one egg, one woman, loads of sperm needs to come at it to get to make, you know, more babies. So to get everyone going. So so it's interesting. So I have a bit of a, mixed bag, and I do have a really mixed bag when people think and blame one person and don't perhaps have that view of just, okay, what happened?
I think there's always two sides to every story when it comes to an affair, and often three or four, depending on how many people are involved in that whole affair, because and usually say it's usually a taboo subject. But I'm totally with you on, I don't actually think that human beings are designed to have just one partner in life. I really don't. Ultimately, from a survival point of view, we are designed to procreate and create more human beings so that we don't die out. But should we have to do that with the same person? Well, Not really, because if we think about survival of the fittest, we don't want to keep creating human beings with genes that are a bit flawed, and we end up with a lot of disease and stuff. So it makes sense that we are going to have multiple partners and have multiple babies if we want to survive. Now, I know that sounds very animalistic, but ultimately, where we came from.
We are animals, and there's this whole thing as well. What we don't also remember is the fact that sex is sex. It's not necessarily like an affair. Tends to be as well that you categorize it as they've slept with someone else. You've actually had sex with someone else as well. But actually, sex is sex, and relationships are relationships. They're two completely different things. You can have a really loving relationship, but still want.
I'll just drink me blue.
Lucy, keep it very quiet.
No, Lucy, come on, Lucy. What is your view on monogamy?
We need
worry less, people more. Worry less
and giggle more. Yeah, but I agree with that. So, I'm going to put you on the spot here now. So, do you know anybody who's had an affair that's kept it quiet? Have they asked you to keep it quiet, for example, and say nothing? Because that's another dilemma, isn't it? What if somebody tells you?
My mum and dad split up, and my dad had an affair, but he didn't marry. He remarried a different lady. But
the one he had an affair with, or a different one again?
No, not the one he had. So he's got a happy marriage now. But then, do you forgive? Because my mum and dad don't speak now, so never forgive. So who's it hurting the most? Because is it just a waste of energy holding on to that kind of like, why can you not just forget, like move on?
I think the dilemma comes. Yeah, I agree with you. My mum was similar because my dad had an affair and did marry. My dad and stepmom were together for 25 years nearly before my dad passed. And my mum never forgave him and would always talk about it.
Did she go to the funeral then? I often wonder.
Absolutely not. No.
I often wonder when they go to each other's funeral. They're like, oh.
No, and to be honest, it wouldn't have been a good idea. But I just think that we've got this confusion, haven't we, between sex and that being an affair, but actually then somebody wanting a relationship with and falling in love with her. That's a whole different, confusing kettle of fish, isn't it? If it's just sex, I think it's dead straightforward.
It's a massive thing, and that's the thing. If it's just sex and it's a little like, okay, there's a conversation to have. We're talking about having a communication, what is missing in your, in your joint sex. But if it's like, you really don't love or want to be with that person anymore, that's a completely different situation. But like you said, Lucy, it's also that whole, it's the breaking of the trust that's the problem with everything, isn't it? It's the trust that breaks, and that's where it's like trying to build it up. And if you're someone who can rebuild trust, amazing. But there's just some people who will never be able to be comfortable enough to to trust in that again. So
and then you've got open relationships, haven't you, where partners absolutely agree that is how it's going to be. But then that doesn't always work out, because it can often be that somebody does, in fact, end up falling in love with somebody else. And, it kind of transpires that one of the partners didn't really want it to be an open relationship, but agreed because they thought that it was the way to keep their partner. And it just can then get into a bit of a confusing situation, can't it?
I think in that kind of situation, if anyone wants to go down that road, which I'm obviously completely open to, is the fact that that you need to is actually talk to that third party, so that a third party, like a therapist, can actually go, okay, actually, you're not really getting what this really means, and really going into what this kind of like what this means. Because I've discussed it like with my husband. We've like discussed that thing because it's interesting to know if like people's views on it. I think like how it. But I'm with you, Vicky, on that thing. I would be okay with my husband coming back to me and saying I've had sex with someone else. But if he came back to me and said, I love someone else, I won't be able to take it. That would be like my level. Like there's a trust thing, and it would be like, that's the thing that would be broken. Not it's the sex doesn't do it for me.
And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because my first husband did exactly that. And I knew that he was sleeping with people before we got married, because he had an affair with me. and ended up leaving my wife. So what comes around goes around, as they say. So was I surprised that he was seeing other people as well? No. But then was it a convenient excuse for me to get a divorce? Yeah, it was, because I could use that as a reason, because actually I'd moved on already. I knew it was a mistake. And so sometimes it can actually be beneficial, because it can mean that you are giving yourself and your partner permission for both of you to say, do you know what? Actually, it wasn't right for either of us, or it is now right for both of us to be able to move on. And it's okay. So absolutely, look, it's all down to how we decide to interpret it in our own situation. But we're really good at judging other people, aren't we?
But also, so Lucy's face, before I do that, Lucy, before I get your opinion on this, I'm going to say that until I started working really primarily in this whole field of sexology and understanding this and all this kind of thing, I was still very black and white on it. This is why I talk about how we need to talk more about these kind of things to actually really understand them. I used to be like, no, don't even joke about it, not even funny. A kiss would be end of the world. So it's
I'm probably a little bit like that. I'm like, oh crikey, no, I don't know if I could cope with that. Oops.
I think we do that, don't we? We look at how would I feel if it was me in that situation. And that's and as you say, unless you're exposed, like obviously, Jessica, you get a chance to talk these things through with your clients as well. But if it doesn't really crop up in conversation, we tend to take on board the views of our parents and the group and the people that we're around. We take on what their beliefs are, don't we?
Yeah.
And if you don't have reason to question it, I guess you're not going to do.
The prejudices, things like that like will flow down unless someone kind of goes, hang on a second.
Yeah. Interesting though, but I do feel that the pressure on him to resign was huge. But I mean, do we think he resigned over the affair, or do we think he resigned over the apparent real reason, which was him flouting the COVID rules?
I know. I think it's more the COVID thing, isn't it, though? What I think people now have just lost a little bit of respect, haven't they, for the whole COVID rules, isn't it?
Yeah, I have to though, because my opinion is I actually don't really care what he's doing, because by now I'm old enough and responsible enough and know enough to make my own mind up about how I'm going to conduct myself in this pandemic. Regardless, do I actually care what he's doing or not doing? No. Not really.
And no surprise, crikey, no surprise. What? It's not gone. It's like.
Yeah, I think we've all gone a bit like that. Yeah, so he's resigned and he's out. It's kind of like, it's another one who is saying one thing and doing something else. But isn't that what we expect politicians to do anyway?
But
nothing comes of shock in anything these days to me, I'll be honest. It's just like, it's just the same face.
But isn't it quite easy to do too? Because you know how we always have that saying, like especially like Vicky have it as well. You know, when the coach thing, you just go, you need to do as I say, not as I do, because actually there's so much of it that you do. You're kind of like you're thinking, damn it, I need to give this information. I always remember when I was doing my social media work, and I used to tell people, genuinely had to tell people, please don't look at my own social media, because it's crap. Like, he's a client, and like, please have a look at that, but don't look at mine. But this is where that persona, like that thing, comes in, isn't it? As well, like, do you have to, like, if you're going to say something like that, strength-wise like that, you have to stick to your own guns as much as it's as hard work for you as well. You know, you have to go.
Well, you do.
Yeah,
I think you do if you're going to be in a position of authority, and as you said, if you want people to trust you. Because ultimately it comes down to that. Because I mean, that's one of the things that as a parent, when I was a kid, I used to hate it when I heard adults say that. Don't do as I do, do as I say. It's like, what? It's ridiculous. Why do you expect me to be good and you not? It's bonkers.
It's the cobblers shoes, they call it.
Yeah, it's about being aligned though with who you are and what you do. And I think one thing that I've discovered over time, and I think Lucy, you probably have found this in the work that you do as well, and you will have do as well, Jessica, is that, and even though you've shifted what you do, is that the more aligned you become with your purpose and what lights you up, the easier it is to walk and talk what you're talking about, because if you're slightly out of alignment, I think that's when you struggle to actually do the stuff that you're telling others to do, because maybe that's not exactly the path you should be on. Because I found that when I shifted a little bit in what I do, it's much easier for me to actually, and I hate the term, but I'm going to use it anyway, practice what I preach. And I do walk my walk, and because I know it works, and I also know that if I don't feel good, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. So
exactly that,
and we know you do, Lucy, because we know you walk it.
It's going back to my magic word bracelet of my word this year of purpose, and I all the way through the pandemic, and I stuck to my purpose, which was still to bring fun, joy, and laughter into everybody's lives. And when you know what your purpose is, what you get in, what you're up against, not up against each day, but you wake up each day with that in the back of your mind. So when you do have those kind of days where you're not feeling it, it's there to go, right, come on, that is my purpose, and that is why I'm still, whatever gets thrown my way, you try again the day after as well. If it's not, if you don't have those kind of days, what you're winning. And now I'm really seeing kind of, I don't like saying results. Now I'm actually, all the hard work, what kind of I thrive for every day in 2020 to keep my business alive is to bring fun, joy, and laughter. It's now, I'm seeing this weekend has just been amazing, and seeing parents and children having a great time together. I think that is my purpose, to see children and parents having this time together, and it was just magic to see this weekend again. So things are happening now, and it's great. I love it. So,
but that is you, isn't it? Walking your talk. Yeah.
And it's what you're passionate. I mean, living and breathing it from such an early age as well. From like, it's all I've ever known from the age of 6. That this is.
Because your dad was a clown, wasn't he, Lucy?
Yeah. My dad was a clown, yeah. So, and then plus, same again, when we went through this break of my mum and dad divorcing at a young age, I still went to work with my dad, and that was really, really tough, because my mum was obviously the break wasn't pleasant at all. So I was in between them both. So I was feeling guilty working with my dad, because I obviously lived with my mum, and seeing my mum in this, it wasn't great really at the time. But you coming back to it, but it's all I've ever known to do the job,
isn't it? Following through.
Yeah, and it's like you say, being aligned with yourself. But if you know what your passion and your purpose is, my mum's on here now. Mum is here.
Hi, Lucy's mum.
Has no fear. She has no fear. She's great. Oh, you'll have to watch out for the video later on. My mum's on there. She's great. She's funny.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, but it's,
so talking about mums and how proud and stuff they are of you. It's always a funny one, Jessica, because I'm sure that when you told your mum what you're going into, what was the response?
Do you know what? Nothing. So my mum is one of those really laid-back people, and you'll find it really hilarious, because I once joked to her about, I think the only job you probably would moan at me, Mum, is if I, become a prostitute. And she just looked at me and went, well, if you enjoy it. And I was okay. So that's honestly, my parents are completely like, they're like that. I will have like hour-long conversations with my mom about like deep ones like patriarchy and how it all works and all this kind of stuff. When I went into it, my mom's only concern was, are we sure where you are now? Because I did this social media, as I say, for a while, and I obviously didn't have that passion for it because I was just doing it. It was just the thing. And, a mum thing was always making sure. But, I mean, people always ask me about my dad more than my mum. I mean, it's just like going, how do you, and you know what? We're renovating at the moment. I've got a box of toys. I don't really cover them up. I use them quite a lot. And my hubby said to me the day that my dad picked it up, looked in the box, went, okay, moved it, put it somewhere else and just walked away. We don't know if he couldn't work out what they were or whether he really didn't care. But I found it hilarious. I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, This is amazing. Just go with the flow in my family.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I have to say, I have no idea what my dad would have thought if I'd have said it, because when I got into the world of health and fitness, it was very much so. When are you going to get a proper job? Here I am, still not doing a proper job and loving every minute of it.
Amazing.
So let's have a quick change of the subject, because we have got absolutely rubbish weather here in London, which is where I am. No, it's rubbish. It's peeing it down, and it's Wimbledon. And where is Wimbledon held?
I love how you was distracting. You distracted the conversation with weather first, Vicky.
Yeah, well, I know, because I was going on to say I was looking forward to watching them playing tennis, but if it's pissing it down, it's not going to happen, is it? So are you guys interested in watching Wimbledon? And if so, do you have any favourites, or have you been?
So I've never been to Wimbledon. It's on my bucket list because my hubby's a big like watching tennis, which I'm grateful for, because I'm going to throw it out there, I don't do football. Sorry. So I just can't bear it.
Football?
No, not really. I don't.
Right. Okay. So none of us. We don't do football.
That's not controversial. My parents live opposite a pub, and so ever since I've grown up, and we've lived here since I was 3. It's always been when the football's on, you're always like, oh my God, shut up. Like it's always really, really rowdy. They're outside the front. And I think that's not helped. But so I've not been to Wimbledon. Have you been to Wimbledon? I'm jealous. See, it's not
a time ago.
Have you been, Vicky?
Yeah, once. It was a trip from school when I was in the north. We took a trip from school on a coach, and we queued for God knows bloody how long. And I remember we ended up, me and a friend, this is typical of me when I was that sort of age, I think it was about 11 or 12, we ended up sneaking onto a court. I don't know how we got on it, but we were not on centre court, but we were the one next to it, and we shouldn't have been there. But we got on there, and I can remember thinking about, we were going to get some strawberries and cream, and there was such a queue, and we finally got to the queue, and we both stood there and went, how much? Even back then, I think it was about £5 for some strawberries and cream. And don't forget, we were like, this is a long time ago. I'm 52. Yeah. So if I was 12, do the maths. So back then, that was a lot of money. We couldn't believe it. And we were like, dare we? Should we? I think we split it. I can't remember if we did or whether we decided it was too expensive to bother. But that was my experience. I haven't been since.
When does it start? When does it start then, Wimbledon? Today?
Yeah.
Today?
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Depending on the weather. Or does it depend on the weather? I get confused whether it depends at the early stage.
They've got the courts now, haven't they, that they can cover up. So I think it will actually go ahead. But because of COVID, obviously a lot of not a lot, but some of the top players are not able to participate because they get, obviously, the COVID testing them. So it's going to be really interesting, because I'm all ones for people who are not in the limelight doing really well in these big competitions. So I'm hoping that this is going to be an opportunity for somebody who hasn't been in the spotlight to rise up, show what they can do.
Yeah, that's really nice. Have you ever been, Lucy?
No, I've never been. No, I'm just looking at the comment here. My mum's saying this is a very interesting conversation. There we go.
Lucy's not been to Wimbledon.
I don't think she has. No, not that I can remember. And Joanne went to Wimbledon once, about 20 years ago. Enjoyed it, but she's not rushing back.
Well, I have to ask her that. I know exactly. It's just like, Joe, what? Not rushing back? Well, what happened? No, but it's just like. Yeah. I think one of those bucket lists? You tick it off to do it, because I
think you do. And I think do you know what? I think it's one of those things that sporting events live, I always think are so much more enjoyable, because obviously you've got the atmosphere and the energy when it's live. Yeah. But I do actually enjoy watching tennis on TV. I can't say the same for football. I have been to a live football match, and I did even present the match ball once at Huddersfield Town. And I do enjoy the odd live match. But actually watching it on TV, no, it's not my thing. But I had a lady who was a teacher with me when I used to teach people in a college of further education to become personal trainers. Every single year Wimbledon was on, we used to have a big TV put up especially for her in the staff room, so that every time between breaks she could find out what was going on. Yeah, so I did actually get quite a good education about Wimbledon and who was good players and stuff, so it was quite interesting.
All I've got in my mind is just strawberries and
cream.
So
talking of strawberries and cream, then, are you participants? Is it one of your favourite summertime fruits or not?
What, strawberries and cream?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
All berries.
Yeah.
I love.
I do like a scone as well.
With fresh strawberries or strawberry jam or both?
Oh, mixing your spreads.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do you know what? It's brilliant with both. Fresh strawberries and strawberry jam and cream.
I didn't think about that. We could go into the I was in a networking group not that long ago, and part of we're in Devon and things like that. We were having that full cream or jam first argument, and I didn't know it was a thing. I literally, like all these things, I didn't know that the Devon Cornwall line was literally like, there's a thing that's it's like it was scone gate going on. It was really like, it was honestly in the chat. I'm not sure anyone was networking because the chat was full of no, yes, no, scone, no, not like not talking to you anymore. And I was like, what is happening?
It's a serious business. It really is a serious business. So I'm not going to go down that road because I'm not going to get into controversy. I think there's also a bit of a not just a Cornwall Devon thing. I think there's the countrywide divide on it, to be quite honest.
Joanne put in about the fact that she likes them having them warmed and so scrummy now.
Warm scones. Yeah. So did anybody go picking strawberries?
I'm getting too hungry.
I know. I'm fasting today. We've got to stop doing this. No, I'm like, no. I love picking strawberries. I got so annoyed when the local farm put that sign up that said you're not allowed to eat any of them as you're picking them. I was like,
people do.
No, that's the whole joy of it. And I'll happily pay you double if you'd think. But I was like, you want to pick them off the plant and like one in the bucket, one in your mouth. Yeah,
you're not allowed though. Strictly not allowed. And we do abide by the rules of the farms because especially now, because we've had such crappy weather this year. So we've got to make sure that the crops that are there are well preserved so that we can pick them. We're going on Saturday. Yes, we are. We've got a farm not too far away from us and I'm hoping, because I missed them last year, I'm hoping that I'll get raspberries this year as well. Fingers crossed. Absolutely love picking your own. It's such a good day out.
It is. We have a place near us. It's great.
Isn't it also fascinating when you take the kids, especially when they're younger, and they're literally like, this is how they come. I was like, not in a punnet. Not it's like brilliant. This is like, when they see, I still remember us seeing the corn, it's like, what is this, like kind of like going, that's that's
I love it. Absolutely love it. And asparagus that just literally just grows up out of the ground as single spears, and they're like, but it comes in bundles. No, it grows all on its pod individually, and then you pick it. It's brilliant.
No, exactly.
The joy and fun of family days out doing just really simple stuff.
I know, that's it. The simple things.
Yeah, and talking of simple things, we're having a day. I didn't realise, but it was on the news again this morning. I don't watch the news all the time, folks. I do tend to watch it first thing just so that I'm abreast with what is going on in the world, and that is it. Because I'm not somebody who homes in on the news all the time. But apparently we're having a thank you day on the 4th of July. Have you heard about this?
Oh, no, I'm going to write that down.
It's a national or is it an international? I'm not sure. Somebody will correct me, no doubt. I think it might be a national. A national thank you day, and they're redoing some songs, some well-known pop songs. So a Fleetwood Mac song being one of them. And it just got me thinking about what songs make you kind of feel full of like joy and when you're feeling gratitude and thankful. Is there a song that kind of springs to mind, or a saying, or a phrase, or whatever? Oh, let's put you on the spot. I know how we feel about specific days because we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
And I think this has come off the back of COVID and being thankful to the NHS and all of the amazing people that have just like rallied round the last 18 months and not really received a lot of thanks and gratitude. So I absolutely do love the idea of this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, if we can all jump on board and do something that allows us to just be grateful for the unsung heroes, as it were, because they're everywhere, you know, right from the people who don't get a mention, like who are so important in keeping hospitals running, like the people who clean all of the laundry and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, everybody who's been working through this, all our dustbin men who have still been working. And I'm sure my local dustman would think I'm a bit of a nutter, but every time I see him, I'd say thank you.
Oh,
because I'm just like, you know what, we would be in a right mess if through this whole COVID they hadn't. So I think it's a great day. So I've given you time now to get your brains thinking about a song.
My mum's put Ken Dodd Happiness.
Love it. Yes, absolutely, because it just makes you feel happy and joyful and thankful to be.
Karen's put Unsung Hero, our unsung hero.
Yep, nice. Like it. Both brilliant choices.
Yeah.
See, if you ever took me to a quiz, the music section would be the piece that you would just let me go to the bar and get everyone's drinks. Because I have never been able to do. I just go, you know that song, that song. You know that song.
Oh, you know the one by so and so.
You know that song that I can't remember, but he's about this high and he doesn't. Absolutely rubbish with all sorts of things. This is
I'm completely with you on that one. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? And he sang What's It as well.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. You know exactly what you're reading my mind, right? So I just like anything with a beat, to be fair. I'm like, I need I like a beat to kind of like, I used to play the drums when I was younger, so I think that's probably where like that whole
absolutely. I think anything that gets anybody kind of singing along and joining in is something that's really fun for me. And like any of the Beach Boys and ABBA songs where you can just like let rip, just like sing to. But no, I can't think of a song, and I'd be interested to
always
know.
Look on the bright side of life.
Yeah, which is absolutely what we've all been doing, I think, haven't we? And thank goodness that we have. That's a really good note to wrap things up on, folks. Except to say, what have you got coming up, if anything, that you want to share with people, that you want them to know about, that's happening in your world in the next week or so? Lucy, anything?
Oh, mine. I've always got something going on, haven't I? Yeah. Well, I've not got as far as today, actually, to have a look in my diary and soak up and go, oh, what am I doing this week?
So you're having a break from charity events because you had a big charity event at the weekend. So this weekend's not as busy as that.
No, and the Why Not Cafe yesterday was just amazing. It was just the best thing ever. I'm still buzzing from seeing so many fab people in Colin's quirky little garden, what he's done at the back of his cafe. It was just awesome. And the cafe's called Why Not. I love it.
I love it. What a brilliant name. Just why not?
Isn't it genius? Why not? And I stamped him and all his staff a little bracelet. Well, him and his children, all his children work there. A bracelet saying "Why not" on. So that made my day. But no, it's my cousin's end party.
Woohoo! Excellent. Oh well, that's going to be a joyous time, no doubt.
Oh yes. And my middle daughter wants to come, and my husband's like, "Don't think she should be going." So like, who knows? What do you reckon on this, Jessica? Do you reckon?
Yeah, exactly. I guess you're asking me. I guess it depends on what kind of hen party, because I'm toying with kind of like putting out like being, doing hen parties for people to kind of go, I always have some fun, like not just the Ann Summers thing, but like mixing it all up and kind of doing like, actually having some fun, real fun, and actually having someone really drive the conversation towards sex. But I don't know. What are you doing?
Well, it's a garden full of girls. What else can we do, eh?
You're going to probably talk about orgasms, so I'd say probably not quite right.
Yeah, no.
I think decide on the day.
Yeah, that's it.
He's like, it'll be fine.
That's all you do, isn't it? It depends what mood you wake up in the morning. You go, oh, go on then. Oh, no. It depends.
So, Jessica, what's happening in your world at the moment that you want to share with people?
In my world, do you know what? I've got a really nice kind of like peaceful week like this week. I'm doing some video recording, but I'm actually going on Friday, really excited. I'm going to try forest bathing. So and I've never tried it before, and it sounds really nice. So 3 hours just immersed in like the forest and nature and all that kind of stuff. So taking a friend with me, and we're going to go and enjoy the greenery.
That will be awesome.
I mean, when I did ask her if she wanted to come with me, she was very stressed about it. I said, "Do you want to come with me?" She was like, "Yes." She is in my profession as well, so she did. I did have to clarify that it is clothes on, because we just never know. With me, that's a little bit like this isn't that kind of forest bathing.
Well, this have to stay like that. Maybe not.
Time. But yeah, no, but yes, I was just like, but yes, I'm really excited about that. So,
what are you doing, Vicky?
Yes, well, I've said we're going to be picking your own, and so we normally kind of make a morning or an afternoon of it, because I don't get out much, you know.
Yeah,
she gets taken out.
So we probably end up driving somewhere else since we're out and about in the country. I'll put my old lady hat on. I go, oh, let's go for a drive. Things we're out.
The scarf on. You're just gonna like,
yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Mother and daughter time. It's so important to me.
Brilliant.
On that note, folks, shall we wrap things up? For those of you who are watching live, thank you for contributing. Your comments are really great. And if you are watching on catch up or on replay, please just put #replay, comments, feedback, any questions you want to ask us. Please do put them in the comments, because we will check and we will endeavour to answer you as well. So on that note, ladies, thank you for your company once again, and I will see you next week.
Lovely.
See you next week.
Bye.
Oh, thank you. Lovely to listen in.